Praise the Lord. I was hoping that part 1 would be about 10 minutes, but after recording, I realized that it is almost 20 minutes. But let's see how it goes here. So we are looking at this particular message, end games, how it will all end. I gave some introduction in the first part of the video, yeah. And the question we are actually asking ourselves at this point of time is, will we all live happily ever after? I think this message is important because even as you are in your home or in small group watching this, many of you young people, I'm sure you have great dreams. Some of you are just finishing secondary school and you have a plan to pursue a particular course in a university. Maybe you want to do it here, maybe you want to do it in another country, and that depends on your results as well as the opening at the other end, and also depend whether your father and mother has the money or not. And with graduation, I'm sure you have certain plans. Probably before you graduate, you would already found a sweetheart with some plans to get married, settle down. Maybe a few years after you start work, buy your own house or condominium, and then or maybe start your own business. So we have a lot of plans, and in that sense, will we all live happily ever after? Would be a question I think, if we listen to the Holy Spirit, will just hit us right in our heart. Yeah, we look at the population of planet Earth. We are at about 7.3 billion now, and we said that planet Earth can only sustain about 9 to 10 billion, and we should hit that figure in the year 2035, 2040. Yeah, round about that. Yeah. So let's move on. We're going to look at other things. Already part 1 is quite depressing. We're going to look at more depressing thing. Yeah. Disasters. Now this is actually a picture of a condominium that came down, and this is in our country. I think this is the Highland Towers in Ampang or Ulu Klang. Yeah. We are not sure. I mean, people think that the ground shifted because irrigation and problems like that. So this is something that happened in a country. This is a tsunami that happened. Earthquake. Tsunami are linked with earthquake, and this earthquake not only created the tsunami, but actually damaged a nuclear plant in Fukushima. Yeah. Storms, we must never underestimate the forces of Mother Nature. Strong winds, tornadoes, hurricane, and recently bushfire in the Australia. Yeah, we thank God. I think it's subsided already. And actually, at the background of this is something that may be still happening. Yeah, because of weather change, massive locust plagues are threatening countries in Africa, even up to about Pakistan. Yeah. And we might be so amazed that a small little creature, probably maybe 3 inches, 4 inches, locust, can create the amount of damage. Not because, of course, one locust won't do the damage, but a swarm comes in maybe 10, 15, 20 million creatures coming together, and they can just destroy a whole village and acres of plantation. So these are things that we are facing actually on planet Earth. Earthquake, this is I think in Indonesia, and already Indonesia is having big plans to move Jakarta from its current location to somewhere in Kalimantan, and it's all because of earthquake. Yeah, and actually you can get a lot of this information on the net. I have in front of us here a list of earthquake that is 5.6 Richter scale and more, and they are in 10 years increment from 1900s to 2019, and you can see how it is increasing even over the last 100 years or so. But yeah, beside all these things, this natural disaster, whether it's man-made or really natural, there's something else at the background. I'm quite sure many of us don't know what we are looking at on the screen right now, but this concoction or this thing actually has a name. Yeah, some people call it fat boy, some people call it fat man, and this is actually the atomic bomb that was used in World War II. And America used this bomb and dropped it in two cities in Japan, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Yeah, and the infamous nuclear mushroom, when a nuclear device is detonated. And I have inset here two of the less gory picture of what a nuclear fallout can do on human being, how it can even literally fuse or melt our flesh and create a lot of problem. And because of this, in 1947, there was this scientist by the name of Hyman Goldsmith. So he conceptualized what we call the Doomsday Clock. I must emphasize here, now this Doomsday Clock is not actually a Christian thing. Yeah, it's just a group of scientists coming together, and they produce a bulletin, a regular bulletin called the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists. And Hyman Goldsmith conceptualized this Doomsday Clock with 12 midnight as a symbolic time where 夠鐘 already, the end of the earth, of this earth, and the end of human civilization. And from 1947, which you see right at the bottom there, yeah, they set about 7 minutes to midnight, yeah, and that the long hand move forward and can move backward depending on certain factor or certain environment in this world. So in 1949, it moved to about 3 minutes to midnight because Soviet Union had the first nuclear test. I don't know whether you can see it on your screen or not. In 1953, the US tested the first hydrogen bomb, and the scientists moved the clock to 2 minutes. And then in 1963, right here, there was a partial ban, a treaty, where all these nuclear countries come together and they sign a treaty to say that they will reduce the test, and that brought the clock about 12 minutes to midnight. So it's running. I mean, it's moving forward, it's moving backward, depending. Yeah. In 1991, right here, yeah, the clock was moved up to about almost 17 minutes to midnight because the Cold War was over in 1991. So you can Google this and you can actually find it on the net. And that thing actually is dependent on one factor. It's dependent on a nuclear weapon or nuclear warhead that is in existence all over the world. And this is a chart here. So we see here that United States has 6,550 nuclear warhead. UK 215, France 300, Israel 80, Pakistan 145, India 135, Russia 6,850, China 280, and North Korea 15. Yeah, 15. And one scientist say it takes 250 nuclear warhead and this planet will turn into bits. Yeah. And we have enough to destroy planet Earth several times now. Now, what is nuclear warhead? Just now I showed you the picture of fat boy or fat man, the atomic bomb. Now, the atomic bomb, when the United States used it in World War II, that bomb was actually carried in an aircraft. So they flew the aircraft, if I'm not mistaken, from Hawaii. And they flew the aircraft across the ocean, and they reached over Japan and they dropped the bomb. But nuclear warhead is different. Nuclear warhead is a device where they put on a rocket. So when you put a nuclear warhead on a rocket, usually they call it a nuclear missile or an intercontinental ballistic missile. So things have changed. Human being has become cleverer. Scientists has improved a lot of things. So when you put a nuclear warhead onto a rocket, you can send a nuclear bomb into another country, maybe 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 minutes. Not like you need to fly an aeroplane, which maybe take 30 minutes, an hour for that bomb to reach. So this is a different scenario. And I have to tell you this because I'm going to tell you some story later. Now this is a very interesting slide showing key leaders in this world that may or may not be people who will eventually trigger a nuclear war. Right at the top is Trump, and below is Theresa May, which is no more. She's no more the Prime Minister of the UK. I think is Boris Johnson now. And right at the bottom is actually Kim Jong-un of North Korea, and then beside him is Putin of Russia. Yeah, and these people, I mean, or at least two of the faces here are constantly quarreling. Yeah, Trump has been quarreling with Kim Jong-un, and just about 2 years ago, Kim Jong-un made a statement. I think it was published in the newspaper in North Korea, and Kim Jong-un bragged about this. He says, I have this button in my office on my table, and when I reach out to this button, and if I activate this button, I can send a nuclear missile into the United States. So when our good friend Trump heard this, he's a tweeter, he likes to tweet. So he tweeted, and he said, on my table, I also have a button, and my button is bigger than Kim's button. And my button will definitely work. Not sure whether Kim's will work or not. So you have this kind of thing going on. Yeah. And there was people who brought them together, and they met once, I think about 1.5 years ago in Singapore, trying to come to the table and trying to solve things. Yeah. And then about a year ago, or maybe 13 months, 14 months ago, both of them met in Hanoi. And it was quite nice because I was in Hanoi at that time, last year. Soon after Chinese New Year, I was in Hanoi, and both Trump and Kim were there, and they were supposed to sign something that will make the world feel better. Yeah, but they walk away from the negotiation table, and it was a no deal thing. It was a terrible thing. And this is not the only conflict that's happening in this world today. Yeah, this image that you see actually represents the trade war that is going on between China and America. And of course, this trade war now is overshadowed with the COVID-19 plague. Yeah. But these two countries have been fighting, and those of us who actually read our news would know that China has an ambitious strategy, and they call it the One Road, One Belt, where they are trying to connect the whole world together, and they have their agenda. That is for sure. Yeah, they have their agenda. No time for me to go to the details of it. Yeah, but one of the things that's really that's closer to us is the claim over South China Sea. Yeah, essentially the Chinese are saying that since South China Sea is called South China Sea, so they are saying that essentially the whole of South China Sea belongs to them. Yeah, so they have this red dotted line that basically say that part of the whole sea belongs to us. That's what they're saying. Yeah. So I think this is Hainan Island, and Taiwan is over there. But this sea is claimed by Philippines. It's also claimed by Brunei, and of course Malaysia they claim, as well as Vietnam. Yeah. And there has been ongoing tension. America, USA has been conducting exercise which they use the name called freedom of navigation. Yeah, and they have intentionally brought their warship into certain part of this water, even their aircraft carrier. And really, a war can happen just like that. And China, in the last maybe 10, 12, 15 years, has been growing and building up their military. Yeah, not just in terms of army, but navy, and they already have. I think they have already built their first aircraft carrier. Yeah. So these are the things that is going on. Yeah. And so in the year just last year in 2019, yeah, so the Doomsday Clock was moved 2 minutes to midnight because there was a lack of progress on the nuclear risk and also the danger of climate change. And so just about 6 months ago or 3 months ago, yeah, what was the greatest threat? Yeah, the greatest threat at that time was a possible nuclear bomb, that could be detonated if a nuclear war happened. Yeah. So this is my second part. We're going to end here, all right? And we're going to continue with the third part very, very soon.